A child born with the power to reshape the galaxy becomes the Empire's deadliest weapon. But sometimes the greatest monsters start as the smallest victims. This is shortly after the Clone Wars ended and the Empire rose from the Republic's ashes. On Kashyyyk, the Wookiee homeworld covered in massive trees and endless forests, two Jedi Knights are hiding from the new regime hunting their kind. Kento and Mali Merrick broke every rule the Jedi Order held sacred. They fell in love, married in secret, and had a child together. The baby they named Galen shows signs of Force sensitivity from his first breath. His power radiates so strongly that his parents know staying with the Jedi Order would mean death for all of them. When Order 66 turns clone troopers against their Jedi generals across the galaxy, the Merrick family flees into exile. They settle deep in Kashyyyk's wilderness, moving constantly to avoid Imperial patrols. Kento teaches his son basic lightsaber forms, while Mali shows him how to connect with the living Force. For a few years, they build something resembling a normal life among the trees and Wookiee settlements. That peace shatters when Trandoshan slavers attack a Wookiee village. Mali Merrick rushes to defend the helpless civilians, igniting her lightsaber for the first time in years. She saves dozens of Wookiees, but pays with her life. The slavers cut her down while Kento and young Galen watch from a distance, too far away to help. Kento becomes a single father raising a Force-sensitive child in a galaxy where both are marked for death. He grows paranoid and protective, training Galen harder while moving their camp every few weeks. The boy learns to fight before he learns to read properly. Every lesson carries the weight of survival. Imperial forces sweep through Kashyyyk regularly, hunting surviving Jedi with methodical precision. They interrogate Wookiees, scan for Force signatures, and follow up on every rumor. Kento knows they will find him eventually. He just hopes Galen will be old enough to survive when that day comes. Around 18 years before the Battle of Yavin, that day arrives. Darth Vader himself leads an Imperial invasion force to Kashyyyk. His mission goes beyond routine Jedi hunting. Intelligence reports suggest a former Jedi Knight has been hiding on the planet for years, possibly training new Force users. The Dark Lord brings an entire legion of stormtroopers to ensure nothing escapes. The Battle of Kashyyyk erupts across multiple continents as Imperial forces clash with Wookiee defenders. AT-STs lumber between the massive trees, while clone troopers establish forward bases in clearings carved by turbolaser fire. Wookiee warriors fight with bowcasters and traditional weapons, but they face overwhelming technological superiority. Vader uses the chaos as cover for his real objective. He follows Force signatures through the forest, tracking the Jedi presence he sensed from orbit. Stormtroopers fan out in search patterns while their commander moves deeper into the wilderness alone. He finds Kento Merrick's hidden camp just as the former Jedi is preparing to evacuate. Father and son have minutes to gather their few possessions before fleeing deeper into the forest. But Vader moves faster than they anticipated. The confrontation happens in a small clearing where Kento once taught his son to meditate. Vader emerges from the tree line like a shadow given form, his red lightsaber already ignited. Kento pushes Galen behind him and draws his own weapon for the first time in years. The duel is brief but fierce. Kento fights with the desperation of a father protecting his child, but his skills have dulled from years of hiding. Vader shows no mercy and less patience. Within minutes, Kento Marek dies with his son watching from behind a fallen log. Vader deactivates his lightsaber and prepares to search the camp for intelligence. Then something impossible happens. A lightsaber flies into the young Galen's hand as he instinctively uses the Force. Galen Marek, maybe 6 years old, holds a lightsaber like he was born for it. The weapon doesn't ignite, but the Force flows around the child in ways that make the Sith Lord pause. Raw power radiates from someone too young to understand what he possesses. Vader has found something more valuable than intelligence or hidden Jedi bases. He has found potential. The Dark Lord makes a decision that will reshape galactic history. Instead of killing the boy, he silences the only witnesses. The stormtroopers who accompanied him die quickly, their deaths blamed on Wookiee ambushes. No records will show that Galen Marek ever existed. Vader takes the child aboard his shuttle and disappears into hyperspace. Behind them, Kashyyyk burns as Imperial forces complete their occupation. The boy who might have grown up as a Jedi protector becomes something else entirely. Galen Marek's childhood ends on the forest floor beside his father's body. His future begins in the cargo hold of a Sith Lord's ship, traveling toward a destiny that will threaten everything the galaxy holds dear. The Empire has gained its most dangerous weapon. They just don't know it yet. Taking a child and breaking them until they become a weapon is an art form the Sith have perfected over centuries. Darth Vader was about to create his masterpiece. Galen Marek disappears the moment he steps aboard Vader's ship. The name becomes a forgotten whisper while the boy is reborn as something else entirely. Vader calls him Starkiller, and that code name becomes his only identity. The memories of Kashyyyk, of his parents, of anything resembling a normal childhood get buried so deep they might as well have never existed. Vader's massive warship becomes Starkiller's entire world. The Executor is still under construction, its hull incomplete and corridors echoing with the sounds of workers and machinery. But the training decks are fully operational, and that's all Vader needs. The boy lives in isolation, seeing no one except his master and the droids that maintain the ship. The training begins immediately and never stops. Vader teaches Starkiller that pain is fuel, anger is strength, and hatred is the path to power. Every lesson comes wrapped in suffering. Every mistake brings punishment. The dark side doesn't flow through Starkiller so much as it gets beaten into him, one brutal session after another. Vader abandons his apprentice on deadly worlds with nothing but his bare hands and basic Force training. Assassins hunt Starkiller through alien jungles while he learns to kill or be killed. There are no second chances, no mercy, no comfort. Survive or die. Those become the only two options that matter. The most twisted part of this education comes in the form of a holographic training droid called Proxy. Vader programs the machine to attack Starkiller without warning, at any moment, day or night. Proxy can simulate the appearance and fighting styles of famous Jedi Masters, turning every interaction into a potential deathmatch. Starkiller never knows when the droid might shift from helpful companion to lethal opponent. Conversations get interrupted by lightsaber blades. Meals turn into combat trials. Sleep becomes impossible when any shadow might hide an assassin. The constant threat keeps Starkiller sharp, but also slowly drives him toward madness. The boy pushes himself beyond what any normal person could endure. He creates his own trials when Vader's aren't enough. Starkiller has Proxy bind him in complete darkness, then tries to assemble his lightsaber using only the Force while starving for days. He fails the test but gains something more valuable than success. The attempt strengthens his connection to the dark side. Meditation becomes another form of torture. Starkiller stares into his red lightsaber blade for hours, letting its crimson glow fill his vision and his thoughts. The weapon becomes a focus for bloodlust, a tool for channeling the hatred Vader demands. Every moment of peace gets twisted into preparation for violence. As Starkiller grows from child to teenager, his power grows with him. Vader begins using him for more than training exercises. The apprentice becomes a secret weapon, deployed on missions too sensitive for regular Imperial forces. His first targets are Imperial officers who have fallen out of favor or know too much about Vader's private activities. The Rogue Shadow becomes Starkiller's second home, a sleek ship designed for stealth and speed. Vader assigns pilots to fly the vessel so his apprentice can focus on meditation during travel. Those pilots never last long. Each assassination mission reinforces Starkiller's twisted worldview. He believes he serves order by eliminating chaos. Every death brings the galaxy closer to peace under Imperial rule. The targets deserve their fate because Vader says they do. Questions never occur to someone trained from childhood to obey without thinking. 15 years pass in this cycle of violence and conditioning. The frightened child who watched his father die becomes something else entirely. Starkiller moves like a predator, fights like a demon, and kills without hesitation or remorse. His power in the Force rivals that of Jedi Masters who trained for decades. Vader decides his creation is finally ready for the ultimate test. Master and apprentice face each other in the training chamber where so much blood has been spilled over the years. Starkiller expects to die. He's seen what happens to those who disappoint the Dark Lord. Instead, something different occurs. Starkiller holds his own against Vader's assault, matching the Sith Lord's strength and skill. For the first time, his master's attacks don't overwhelm him. The student has become worthy of recognition. Vader declares the training complete and marks a turning point. Starkiller is no longer just a student or a weapon. He has become something more dangerous than either. The time for practice is over. Vader has a real mission for his newly graduated apprentice. A Jedi survivor named General Rahm Kota has been causing problems for the Empire, leading insurgent attacks against Imperial facilities. The man needs to die, and Starkiller will be the one to kill him. But this assignment comes with special conditions. Vader wants no witnesses left alive. Everyone at the target location must die, including Imperial personnel. The mission must appear to be the work of unknown attackers, not Vader's secret apprentice. Starkiller feels a brief flicker of doubt about murdering fellow Imperials. The sensation is unfamiliar and unwelcome. Years of conditioning kick in to suppress the feeling before it can take root. He accepts the mission without further hesitation. The weapon Vader has spent 15 years creating is finally ready to be unleashed on the galaxy. Starkiller doesn't know it yet, but his first real assignment will set events in motion that change everything. Every weapon needs its first real test, and Vader has found the perfect target for his newly completed apprentice. But sometimes the hunter becomes the hunted in ways no one expects. Vader assigns Starkiller a new pilot for this crucial mission. Captain Juno Eclipse steps aboard the Rogue Shadow as the most skilled Imperial starfighter commander in Vader's personal fleet. She's efficient, professional, and completely unaware that she's about to ferry the galaxy's most dangerous secret weapon to his first kill. Starkiller finds the situation strange. He's never worked with a female pilot before, and he's definitely never had someone treat him like a normal person. Juno follows orders without asking questions, but she also makes casual conversation during the flight. The experience unsettles him. He wonders if this is another test from Vader, another way to measure his focus and dedication. Their destination is a TIE fighter construction facility orbiting Nar Shaddaa, the smuggler's moon, where criminals and outcasts gather beyond Imperial reach. The massive shipyard churns out fighters for the Imperial Navy, but today it's under attack by forces led by a Jedi survivor. General Rahm Kota commands the assault with tactical precision that comes from decades of military experience. His militia fighters swarm around the station while explosives planted throughout the facility threaten to tear the entire structure apart. Kota himself waits in the command center, hoping his bold attack will draw out Darth Vader for a final confrontation. Proxy briefs Starkiller on their target during the approach. Kota survived Order 66 because he refused to use clone troopers during the Clone Wars. The general didn't trust the clones, preferring to fight alongside his own recruited militia. When Palpatine's order turned clone armies against their Jedi commanders, Kota's forces stayed loyal. Now he leads one of the few organized resistance cells still operating against the Empire. The Rogue Shadow arrives in the middle of a firefight. Juno pilots through streams of turbo-laser fire and exploding debris while Starkiller prepares for combat. The moment they dock with a hangar bay, he leaps into action with his red lightsaber blazing. Vader's orders echo in his mind as he advances through the corridors. Leave no witnesses. Kill everyone, Imperial and Rebel alike. The mission must look like the work of unknown attackers, with no connection to the Dark Lord or his secret apprentice. Starkiller cuts through the facility like a force of nature. His lightsaber deflects blaster bolts back at their shooters, while force lightning arcs from his fingertips to fry entire squads of enemies. Kota's militia fighters fall first, but Imperial stormtroopers die just as quickly when they try to stop what they think is a rogue Jedi. The slaughter bothers him at first. These Imperial troops are supposed to be on his side, loyal servants of the Empire he serves. But Vader's conditioning runs deep, and Starkiller pushes the doubts aside. This is a test of his commitment. Hesitation means failure, and failure means death. Both sides struggle to understand what they're facing. Kota's rebels think Starkiller might be some kind of Imperial shadow trooper, a new weapon deployed against them. Imperial forces assume he's a Jedi gone mad, turning his powers against friend and foe alike. Neither group realizes they're watching Vader's personal apprentice in action for the first time. Starkiller fights his way to the command center as the station begins breaking apart around him. Kota's explosives have done their work too well. The facility is collapsing and falling toward Nar Shaddaa's surface, carrying everyone aboard to their deaths. General Kota waits for him in the central command room, lightsaber already ignited. The Jedi Master senses the dark side radiating from his opponent and seems almost disappointed. He expected Vader himself, not some boy trained in Sith techniques. Their duel erupts amidst the chaos of a dying space station. Kota fights with the experience of someone who survived the Clone Wars and countless battles since. His blue lightsaber weaves defensive patterns while he tries to read his opponent's aggressive style. Starkiller attacks with Form 5 lightsaber combat, the same techniques Vader drilled into him through years of brutal training. His strikes come fast and powerful, designed to overwhelm defenses through sheer force. The dark side flows through him, enhancing his speed and strength beyond normal human limits. The command center shakes and tilts as the station's descent accelerates. Sparks shower from damaged consoles, while the two warriors circle each other on unstable footing. Kota adapts to the changing environment, but Starkiller's youth and conditioning give him the advantage. The end comes suddenly. Starkiller's lightsaber shatters Kota's weapon and slashes across the general's face in the same motion. The blade burns through flesh and nerve, destroying Kota's sight forever. The Jedi Master staggers backward, blind and weaponless, defeated by someone young enough to be his son. Starkiller stands ready to deliver the killing blow, but the station's imminent crash forces him to choose. He can stay and finish Kota, dying in the process, or escape and let the fall complete his work. The decision seems obvious. He grabs Kota's broken lightsaber as proof of victory and races for the hangar. Behind him, the blind Jedi stumbles through the wreckage, alone and abandoned. Starkiller assumes the crash will finish what his blade started. Juno pilots the rogue Shadow through the expanding debris field as the TIE fighter construction facility tears itself apart. Starkiller lands on the ship's hull at the last possible moment, timing his escape with the precision Vader taught him. The facility disappears into Nar Shaddaa's clouded atmosphere, taking Rahm Kota with it. The mission appears to be a complete success. Starkiller returns to Vader with the General's lightsaber, presenting it as the trophy of his first real kill. His master expresses satisfaction with the results. The Jedi threat has been eliminated, and Starkiller has proven his worth as a weapon. What neither of them knows is that Rahm Kota survived the crash. Blind and broken, the general crawls from the wreckage and disappears into Nar Shaddaa's underworld. He will spend months recovering and years planning his return. The hunter who thought he had claimed his first victim has actually created his first enemy. But for now, Starkiller basks in Vader's approval. The apprentice has passed his test and eliminated his target. The galaxy seems a little smaller, a little safer for the Empire. The real work is just beginning. Success breeds confidence, but Vader is about to send his apprentice after prey that might actually kill him. Sometimes the most dangerous enemies are the ones who have nothing left to lose. Starkiller barely has time to savor his victory over Rahm Kota before Vader contacts him with another assignment. The Dark Lord reveals a second surviving Jedi hiding somewhere in the galaxy. Kazdan Paratus, a Jedi Knight turned exile, has made his home on Raxus Prime, a junkyard world in the Outer Rim where broken ships go to die. Vader delivers this briefing with his usual cold efficiency, but something in his tone catches Starkiller's attention. The Dark Lord admits that Paratus is far more powerful than his apprentice. The words hit like a physical blow. This isn't encouragement or a vote of confidence. Vader is essentially telling Starkiller that he's about to die. But he also suggests that defeating Paratus would prove Starkiller worthy of greatness. The challenge is clear. Survive this fight and earn true recognition, or fail and become another casualty of the Jedi Purge. Juno Eclipse overhears the conversation from the Rogue Shadow's cockpit. She starts to understand the deadly game Vader is playing with his apprentice's life. Each mission pushes Starkiller closer to death, testing limits that might not exist. She keeps her thoughts to herself, but the realization troubles her. The journey to Raxus Prime gives them time to research their target. Proxy accesses Imperial databases but finds almost nothing useful. Kazdan Paratus was a Jedi engineer who specialized in building droids. He survived Order 66 because he commanded machines instead of clone troopers. When Palpatine's order turned organic soldiers against their Jedi commanders, Paratus's mechanical forces stayed loyal. Starkiller finds himself distracted during the voyage. The slaughter on Nar Shaddaa weighs on his mind more than he expected. Killing rebels felt justified, but murdering Imperial troops created doubts he can't quite shake. He forces himself to focus on the coming battle, pushing unwelcome thoughts aside. Raxus Prime appears through the viewport as a brown sphere covered in twisted metal and mechanical debris. The planet serves as a dumping ground for the galaxy's technological waste. Mountains of scrap metal stretch to the horizon, while rivers of toxic chemicals flow between rusted starship hulls. As the Rogue Shadow descends through the polluted atmosphere, they spot something impossible. Rising from the junkyard landscape stands a crude replica of the Jedi Temple from Coruscant. Someone has built the sacred structure out of scrap metal and broken machinery, creating a monument to madness. Paratus constructed his temple using the wreckage of 1,000 different ships. Rusted hull plating forms walls, while twisted support beams create the familiar spires. The result looks like a fever dream version of the real thing, beautiful and horrible at the same time. Starkiller lands amid the debris field and advances on foot toward the makeshift temple. The landscape itself seems hostile, with sharp metal edges and unstable footing threatening to cut or crush the unwary. Scavengers and salvage droids patrol the area, drawn by the sound of his ship's engines. A group of Rhodian scrap hunters recognizes Starkiller from Imperial bounty postings. They attack with salvaged blasters and makeshift weapons, hoping to claim whatever reward the Empire has placed on his head. He cuts them down with lightsaber and force lightning, following Vader's standing order to leave no witnesses. Paratus has turned his junkyard into a fortress defended by homemade guardians. Combat droids assembled from spare parts emerge from hiding places throughout the scrap heaps. They attack in waves, forcing Starkiller to fight his way up the temple's levels while dodging their coordinated assaults. The most dangerous guardian is a massive junk golem animated through the Force. The towering construct of twisted metal and mechanical parts moves with surprising grace for something so large. Starkiller's experience fighting Proxy's holographic opponents helps him adapt to this unconventional enemy. He brings the golem down through sustained force attacks and precise lightsaber strikes. The temple's throne room reveals the full extent of Paratus's madness. Wire and metal sculptures fill the chamber, crude representations of the Jedi High Council that once governed the Order. Each effigy sits in its proper place, creating a grotesque parody of the temple's most sacred space. Kazdan Paratus emerges from behind his mechanical creations like a spider dropping from its web. The Alina Jedi is tiny, even by his species standards, but a mechanical harness on his back gives him multiple arms and enhanced mobility. He moves with jerky, insectoid motions while wielding a double-ended lightsaber pike. The chamber fills with the hum of activating weapons as Paratus's droid council comes to life. Each mechanical Jedi Master is programmed to fight in the style of its real counterpart. Vibroblade approximations of lightsabers ignite as the false council prepares to defend their creator. Starkiller faces multiple opponents simultaneously as Paratus commands his artificial army. The Mad Jedi leaps and strikes with his pike, while droid versions of Plo Koon and Mace Windu attack from different angles. The fight becomes a chaotic melee, with enemies coming from every direction. One of the droids manages to land a blow that briefly disarms Starkiller, proving that even mechanical opponents can be dangerous when properly programmed. But his power in the Force gives him the advantage he needs. Waves of Force lightning arc through the chamber, destroying the false council members one by one. Paratus watches his friends die again, just as they did during Order 66. The sight drives him into a berserker fury that makes him even more dangerous. He hurls chunks of scrap metal with telekinetic force while pressing his lightsaber assault with renewed desperation. The final exchange comes when Paratus tries to crush Starkiller under a massive piece of machinery. Starkiller seizes control of the debris through the Force and hurls it back at its sender. The impact is devastating, burying Kazdan Paratus under the very junk he used to build his temple. The Mad Jedi dies weeping for his mechanical companions, alone in his fortress of broken dreams. Starkiller collects half of the shattered lightsaber pike as proof of victory, then contacts Vader to report another successful mission. The apprentice has survived an encounter his master expected to kill him. The victory proves his growing power, but it also raises the stakes for whatever comes next. Vader will demand an even more dangerous target, pushing Starkiller closer to the edge with each assignment. 2 Jedi are dead, but the hardest test still waits ahead. When your master warns you that your next target might kill you, it's time to worry about more than just completing the mission. Sometimes the greatest victories come at the highest cost. Vader contacts Starkiller with news that changes everything. A 3rd Jedi survivor has been located, but this one is different from the others. Shaak Ti was a member of the Jedi High Council, one of the most revered masters in the entire Order. She's hiding on Felucia, a jungle world where the Force flows like a living river through every tree and vine. The Dark Lord delivers another blunt warning. Shaak Ti is extremely powerful, more dangerous than anyone Starkiller has faced before. He will need to draw on the full strength of the dark side just to survive their encounter. Vader essentially tells his apprentice to prepare for death, but Starkiller accepts the challenge eagerly. Defeating a council master would prove his worth beyond question. The journey to Felucia reveals a different side of Starkiller's personality. He becomes unusually quiet during the flight, keeping his hood up and speaking only when necessary. Juno notices the change, but gives him space to prepare mentally for what might be his final battle. She carries her own burdens during the voyage. Starkiller senses emotional turmoil radiating from his pilot, guilt about something in her Imperial past. She eventually confides that she participated in the bombing of Kalos, an operation that haunts her conscience. The conversation is brief, but it shows how the Empire's actions weigh on even its most loyal servants. Felucia appears through the viewport as a world of impossible colors and alien beauty. Massive fungi tower above the canopy, while bioluminescent plants pulse with their own inner light. The native Felucians have evolved alongside this environment, developing force sensitivity that rivals trained Jedi. The planet itself feels wrong to Starkiller as soon as he steps onto its surface. Shaak Ti's presence has somehow corrupted the natural balance, tilting the Force toward darkness in ways that disturb even a Sith apprentice. The corruption runs so deep that it affects the wildlife and native population. Felucian warriors attack almost immediately, emerging from the jungle with weapons and force powers that catch Starkiller off guard. These tribal aliens command the local fauna like extensions of their own bodies. Predators that should fear lightsabers charge without hesitation under Felucian control. The environment itself becomes an enemy. Carnivorous plants snap at him from hidden positions, while toxic spore pods explode when disturbed. Starkiller cuts through these threats with growing efficiency, his dark side powers perfectly suited for this hostile landscape. The most dramatic encounter comes when Felucian shamans riding a massive rancor charge across a clearing. The beast towers above the trees, its rider directing its movements through force techniques passed down for generations. Starkiller leaps onto the creature's back in a move that defies common sense and physics. The struggle on the Rancor's back becomes a test of pure will and power. Starkiller channels concentrated force lightning directly into the beast's nervous system, killing it in seconds. The death roar echoes across the jungle like thunder, but the sound no longer affects him the way it once might have. He's become numb to destruction. His path leads to the ancient abyss, a massive sarlacc pit that the Felucians consider sacred ground. The creature is ancient beyond measure, its tentacles and feeding mouths extending far below the surface. Shaak Ti waits for him at the edge of the pit, meditating calmly despite the chaos erupting around her. The Togruta Jedi Master radiates serenity even as she senses the dark side approaching. She's felt Starkiller's murderous progress through the jungle and prepared herself for their confrontation. Their meeting begins with words rather than weapons. Shaak Ti acknowledges the darkness consuming Starkiller, but also expresses pity for someone so young and so lost. She makes a prediction that cuts deeper than any lightsaber strike. Vader will betray him eventually, casting him aside when he's no longer useful. The warning means nothing to Starkiller now, but it plants a seed that will grow later. The duel erupts on the most dangerous battlefield imaginable. They fight on the edge of a living abyss while the sarlacc's tentacles lash out around them. Shaak Ti draws on Felucia's corrupted force energy, commanding creatures and plants to aid her defense. The ground trembles under their feet as two of the galaxy's most powerful force users clash. Shaak Ti's fighting style combines grace with lethality, her blue lightsaber weaving patterns that seem to dance with the jungle's natural rhythms. She uses the environment as a weapon, turning Felucia itself against her opponent. Vines reach for Starkiller, while the Sarlacc's appendages try to drag him into its waiting maws. Starkiller responds with raw power and aggressive tactics. His red blade cuts through everything in its path, while Force lightning arcs toward his opponent in deadly streams. The battle rages across multiple levels of the village, with both combatants knocked down and climbing back up repeatedly. The tide turns when Starkiller's relentless assault begins to overwhelm even a Council Master's defenses. Shaak Ti makes a final stand, drawing on her connection to Felucia and the light side, but is ultimately overwhelmed by Starkiller's power. In the end, Shaak Ti makes a choice that denies Starkiller his victory. Rather than die by his blade, she steps backward into the Sarlacc's waiting mouth. Her final words echo across the pit as she falls, warning again that the Sith will abandon him when convenient. The ancient creature swallows one of the galaxy's greatest Jedi Masters. Shaak Ti's death sends shockwaves through Felucia's Force ecosystem. The planet falls deeper into darkness as her stabilizing presence disappears. Her former apprentice, Maris Brood, will eventually succumb to corruption. The jungle that once represented life and growth becomes a monument to decay. Starkiller contacts Vader to report another successful mission. 3 Jedi are dead, and virtually all known survivors have been eliminated. The Dark Lord expresses satisfaction with his apprentice's work and reveals that the time has come for their ultimate goal. They will now move against Emperor Palpatine himself. Years of training and testing have led to this moment. Starkiller returns to the Executor believing that his destiny as a Sith Lord is finally within reach. He has no idea that the greatest betrayal of his life is waiting for him aboard his master's ship. The weapon Vader created has exceeded all expectations. Soon it will be tested in ways neither of them anticipated. The moment you trust a Sith Lord completely is the moment you sign your own death warrant. Starkiller is about to learn that loyalty means nothing when survival is at stake. Starkiller returns to the Executor expecting to begin the most important mission of his life. He and Vader will finally move against Emperor Palpatine, using years of training and preparation to overthrow the galaxy's supreme ruler. The apprentice has proven himself by eliminating 3 Jedi survivors. Now comes the reward for his faithful service. Juno pilots the rogue Shadow into the Executor's hangar bay, while Starkiller prepares mentally for what lies ahead. He's killed Jedi Masters and survived impossible odds. Overthrowing the Emperor seems like the natural next step in his evolution as a Sith Lord. The bridge of the massive Star Destroyer feels different when they arrive. Imperial officers move with nervous energy, while Vader waits with unusual tension. Something has changed during Starkiller's absence, but the apprentice doesn't understand what until it's too late. Proxy activates without warning, projecting a holographic image that makes everyone on the bridge freeze in terror. Emperor Palpatine appears before them, his yellow eyes burning with malevolent intelligence. The most powerful Sith Lord in the galaxy has been watching Starkiller's activities through spies and surveillance networks. Palpatine accuses Vader of treachery, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. The Emperor knows about Starkiller's existence and demands an explanation for this secret apprentice. Vader has been caught harboring a potential rival, violating the fundamental rule that only two Sith may exist at any time. The Dark Lord faces an impossible choice: defy the Emperor and die immediately, or prove his loyalty through the ultimate sacrifice. Vader chooses survival over sentiment in the most brutal way possible. Without warning or hesitation, Vader ignites his red lightsaber and drives it through Starkiller's abdomen. The blade pierces flesh and bone, while the apprentice stares in shock at his master's betrayal. There's no time to react, no chance to defend himself. The strike is precise and merciless. Vader uses the Force to hurl Starkiller's body across the bridge like a broken doll. The apprentice crashes through viewport windows and tumbles into the vacuum of space, his blood freezing instantly in the void. From Palpatine's perspective, the problem has been solved permanently. The Emperor expresses satisfaction with Vader's obedience while praising his willingness to sacrifice a useful tool. The hologram disappears, leaving Vader alone with the consequences of his actions. Starkiller drifts among the Executor's debris, apparently dead from betrayal and exposure. But Vader planned for this possibility. The moment Palpatine's transmission ends, droid recovery teams launch from hidden bays to retrieve Starkiller's body. The Dark Lord never intended to let his greatest weapon die, even if he had to nearly kill him to maintain the deception. The science vessel Empirical becomes Starkiller's resurrection chamber, where Vader brings his apprentice back from the edge of death using cybernetic implants. The process takes days or weeks, with Starkiller floating in Bacta tanks while machines repair his damaged organs. He awakens to find Vader standing over him like a mechanical angel of death. The Dark Lord explains the necessity of the deception with cold logic. Palpatine demanded proof of loyalty, and Vader provided it. The betrayal was theater designed to preserve Starkiller's usefulness for future operations. Vader reveals a new plan that makes the previous missions seem simple by comparison. Starkiller must organize a rebellion against the Empire itself. The idea sounds like madness, but Vader's reasoning is cunning. A widespread insurgency will distract Palpatine's attention, creating opportunities for them to strike when the Emperor is focused elsewhere. The mission requires Starkiller to become everything he was trained to destroy. He must gather dissidents and rebels, welding them into an army capable of threatening Imperial rule. This rebel alliance will serve as bait in a trap designed to eliminate Palpatine once and for all. Vader demands that Starkiller sever all personal connections to avoid suspicion. The Dark Lord reveals that he's already branded Juno a traitor for her role in Starkiller's missions. She awaits execution in an Imperial detention cell. Starkiller agrees to the mission while secretly planning his own agenda. Vader's betrayal has opened his eyes to the true nature of their relationship. He was never an apprentice or partner, just a weapon to be discarded when convenient. The realization plants seeds of rebellion that will grow beyond Vader's control. With Proxy's assistance, Starkiller escapes his confinement aboard the Empirical. He fights through Imperial security forces while making his way to Juno's cell. The rescue mission becomes a slaughter as he eliminates anyone who might report his activities to Vader. Juno's shock at seeing him alive transforms into understanding as he explains his defection. She takes control of the rogue shadow while Starkiller prepares for a future neither of them can predict. They escape as the Empirical begins its self-destruct sequence, triggered by Vader to eliminate evidence. Aboard their stolen ship, Starkiller confides his true intentions. He will build the rebellion Vader requested, but for his own purposes rather than his former masters. The Empire has taken everything from him, and now he'll return the favor by giving its enemies the leadership they need. The mission leads him to seek out someone from his past. General Rahm Kota survived their encounter on Nar Shaddaa, though blinded and broken. Starkiller remembers the Jedi's words about destiny and different paths. Perhaps the man he once tried to kill can help him find redemption. The weapon Vader created has turned against its maker. Starkiller's journey from Sith apprentice to rebel leader begins with a single choice to save someone he cares about. That choice will reshape the galaxy in ways none of them can imagine. Sometimes the best way to destroy your enemies is to give them exactly what they think they want. Starkiller is about to create something that will outlive both him and the Empire itself. The search for General Rahm Kota leads to the floating city of Cloud City above the gas giant Bespin. The once proud Jedi general has fallen far since their encounter on Nar Shaddaa. Blinded and broken, he drowns his sorrows in a seedy cantina where smugglers and criminals gather to forget their troubles. Starkiller finds Kota slumped over a table, surrounded by empty bottles and the stench of despair. The general senses a familiar presence but doesn't immediately recognize the young man standing before him. The darkness is still there, but something else radiates from Starkiller now. Something that feels almost like hope. In a gesture that surprises them both, Starkiller places Kota's lightsaber on the table between them. The weapon he claimed as a trophy becomes an offering of respect and remorse. The simple act breaks through Kota's alcoholic haze and opens a conversation that will change galactic history. Starkiller explains his defection from Vader and his desire to fight the Empire. The words sound strange coming from someone trained as a Sith assassin, but Kota senses truth behind them. The Force shows him glimpses of Starkiller's potential, visions of light breaking through decades of darkness. Kota agrees to help despite knowing exactly who Starkiller is and what he's done. The Jedi Master sees past the violence to something worth saving. He becomes both mentor and ally to someone who once tried to kill him, proving that redemption is always possible. The general reveals a network of resistance contacts that have been quietly opposing Imperial rule. Some senators in particular have been meeting in secret to discuss organized rebellion against Palpatine. Bail Organa of Alderaan, Mon Mothma of Chandrilar, the biggest faces representing the Republic's true spirit in a galaxy ruled by tyranny. The first recruitment mission takes Starkiller back to Kashyyyk, the world where his story began. Princess Leia Organa, barely a teenager but already showing the leadership that will define her future, has come to rally support for Wookiee freedom. Imperial forces under Captain Osric Stern have enslaved the native population, turning proud warriors into forced laborers. Starkiller helps Leia free the Wookiee slaves in a mission that feels like coming full circle. The boy who was taken from this world returns as a liberator, fighting alongside the daughter of the man who will lead the rebellion. Leia provides crucial information about her father's whereabouts in exchange for his assistance. Bail Organa has been captured on Felucia while searching for Shaak Ti before her death. The planet has descended into chaos since the Jedi Master's fall, corrupted by dark side energy that transforms its beautiful jungles into nightmarish landscapes. Shaak Ti's former apprentice, Maris Brood, has succumbed to the corruption and taken Bail prisoner. The rescue mission forces Starkiller to confront the consequences of his actions. Felucia's transformation began with Shaak Ti's death, making him partially responsible for the suffering that followed. He battles through corrupted wildlife and fallen Felucians to reach a rancor graveyard where Maris Brood waits with her captive. The duel with Brood is brief but intense. The young Zabrak has embraced the dark side completely, her lightsaber techniques enhanced by rage and desperation. Starkiller defeats her through superior training and power, but the victory feels hollow. He saves Bail Organa while wondering how many others he's doomed through his past actions. Bail initially distrusts Starkiller, having heard reports of a violent agent operating on Felucia. Kota's endorsement and Starkiller's obvious sincerity gradually win him over. The senator agrees to join their cause, bringing Alderaan's vast wealth and political influence to the growing rebellion. Mon Mothma joins the alliance through Bail Organa's recommendation and her own convictions. The Chandrila senator has been speaking out against imperial policies in the Senate despite the personal risk. Her moral authority and political connections make her an invaluable addition to their leadership. The moment of truth comes on Corellia, where all the pieces finally come together. Hidden in ancient ruins on a mountaintop, the leaders of the future rebel alliance gather to formalize their commitment. The meeting feels historic even as it happens, a turning point that will echo through the ages. Each leader brings something unique to the alliance. Bail Organa offers Alderaan's financial resources and diplomatic networks. Mon Mothma provides political legitimacy and the ability to rally sympathetic star systems. Rahm Kota promises to build an actual fighting force from scattered resistance cells. Starkiller stands among them as both catalyst and symbol. His actions brought these leaders together, but his presence represents something more important. The Marek family crest will eventually become the Rebel Alliance Starbird, transforming his personal heritage into a galaxy-wide symbol of hope. The signing of what history will call the Corellian Treaty marks the official birth of the Alliance to restore the Republic. Bail Organa declares open rebellion against the Empire in words that carry the weight of destiny. The document they create outlines principles of freedom and justice that will guide the rebellion through its darkest hours. For the first time in his life, Starkiller feels part of something greater than himself. The weapon Vader created to serve the Sith has become the founder of the galaxy's greatest hope for freedom. The irony is perfect and devastating. The rebellion Vader wanted as a distraction has become something real and powerful. Starkiller genuinely believes in the cause he's helped create, transforming from assassin to liberator through choices that define his true character. The boy taken from Kashyyyk has finally found his way home. The perfect plan works until the moment it doesn't. And right now, everything Galen Marek has built is about to collapse around him. Sometimes your greatest victory becomes your most devastating defeat in the span of a single heartbeat. The celebration on Corellia lasts exactly as long as it takes for Imperial snow troopers to kick down the door. The newly formed Rebel Alliance has minutes to savor their historic achievement before Darth Vader springs the trap he's been setting since the beginning. The Dark Lord never lost track of his former apprentice. Every move, every recruitment, every secret meeting has been monitored and catalogued. Proxy cuts the holographic connection with Princess Leia just as the first stormtroopers burst into the chamber. The quick thinking saves her identity, but does nothing to protect the leaders already trapped inside. Vader marches through the entrance, flanked by an entire squad of Imperial troops, his mechanical breathing echoing off the ancient walls. Rahm Kota ignites his lightsaber and lunges at the Dark Lord in a desperate attempt to protect the others. The attack is brave but futile. Vader doesn't even draw his weapon. He simply raises one hand and crushes Kota's throat with the Force, flinging the blind Jedi across the room like a broken toy. Within seconds, Bail Organa and Mon Mothma find themselves surrounded by blaster barrels. The most important leaders of the nascent rebellion are prisoners before they can even process what's happening. The trap is perfect in its simplicity and devastating in its execution. Vader turns to them with satisfaction. He praises his former apprentice's performance, acknowledging that Starkiller has done exactly what he was supposed to do. Gather the Empire's enemies in one place. Make them trust him. Deliver them gift-wrapped to their destruction. The revelation hits the rebel leaders like a physical blow. The man who brought them together, who convinced them to risk everything for the cause of freedom, is Vader's apprentice. They've been played from the very beginning, manipulated by someone they thought they could trust. Galen stares at his former master in growing horror as the truth becomes clear. This was never about overthrowing the Emperor. The rebellion wasn't meant to be a distraction for their assault on Palpatine. It was a trap designed to eliminate the Empire's most dangerous political enemies in one coordinated strike. Everything makes sense now. Vader's betrayal on the Executor, the convenient rescue and resurrection, the mission to build a rebel alliance, even Juno's assignment as his pilot. Every single detail was orchestrated to bring about this moment. Galen realizes he's been nothing more than a sophisticated hunting hound, trained to sniff out prey for his master's table. The rage that fills him is unlike anything he's felt before. This goes beyond the anger Vader taught him to embrace. This is the fury of someone who's discovered that his entire existence has been a lie. When he confronts Vader about the deception, the Dark Lord shows no remorse or even acknowledgement of wrongdoing. Vader's response is swift and brutal. He hurls a massive chunk of the conference table at Galen with enough force to shatter stone. The impact sends his former apprentice flying through the wall and out into the Corellian night. The boy he raised and trained is discarded like garbage the moment he's no longer useful. Galen plummets down the mountainside, his body bouncing off rocks and twisted metal until he comes to rest in a snowbank far below. The cybernetic enhancements Vader gave him after the first betrayal ironically save his life now. He survives injuries that would kill any normal person, though he loses consciousness from the trauma. Above, Vader loads his prisoners aboard Imperial transports while assuming his former apprentice is dying in the snow. The Dark Lord has what he came for. The rebellion's leadership will be delivered to Emperor Palpatine as proof of Vader's continued loyalty and effectiveness. Juno Eclipse proves that she's more than just a skilled pilot during the chaos of the Imperial raid. She slips away in the confusion and makes her way back to the rogue shadow through stealth and determination. Her search for Galen takes her through Imperial patrol routes and hostile terrain until she finds his broken body. The sight of Juno's face as he regains consciousness gives Galen something he's never had before. A reason to live that has nothing to do with power or revenge or duty. For the first time in his life, he tells someone his real name. The act of saying Galen Marek out loud feels like breaking chains that have bound him since childhood. Aboard the Rogue Shadow, flying through hyperspace as a fugitive, Galen experiences something approaching enlightenment. Every lie Vader ever told him becomes clear. The dark side hasn't made him strong. It's made him a slave. His attachment to Juno isn't a weakness to be purged. It's the first genuine human connection he's ever formed. The transformation from Starkiller to Galen Marek is complete in that moment. He rejects the Sith teachings that shaped his youth and embraces something he barely understands. The light side of the Force flows through him differently now, bringing clarity instead of rage, purpose instead of blind obedience. His first act as a redeemed man is to save the people his past actions have doomed. The rebel leaders trusted him, and now they're paying the price for that trust. General Kota is counting on him to make things right. The guilt weighs heavily on Galen's conscience, but it also provides direction. Through meditation and Force visions, Galen traces the path of the Imperial transports carrying his friends. The images are chaotic and hard to interpret, but one element appears consistently. A massive space station under construction, its skeletal framework visible against the stars. The Death Star project that will become the Empire's ultimate weapon. The rescue mission requires everything Galen has learned about stealth and infiltration. The Rogue Shadow's cloaking device allows them to approach the Death Star undetected, but once they're aboard, surprise will be their only advantage. Thousands of Imperial troops garrison the station along with automated defenses and elite guards. Juno pilots them through the construction zone with skill that borders on the supernatural. Before Galen leaves the ship for what might be the last time, he and Juno share a moment that changes both of their lives. Their first and only kiss carries the weight of everything they can't say out loud. Love, fear, hope, and desperation, all compressed into a single gesture that says goodbye and hello simultaneously. Galen leaps from the Rogue Shadow's ramp onto the Death Star's superstructure with lightsabers in hand and determination in his heart. The station's corridors stretch for kilometers in every direction, filled with construction equipment, Imperial personnel, and security checkpoints. Getting to the Emperor's throne room will require fighting through an army. The battle that follows showcases just how powerful Galen has become during his years of training. Imperial Senate guards fall to his lightsaber, while Royal Guardsmen prove only slightly more challenging. Stormtroopers attack in waves, but their blasters are useless against someone who can deflect energy bolts while crushing windpipes with his mind. The Emperor's observation dome towers above the Death Star's primary weapon system like a cathedral of darkness. Through its transparent steel windows, the skeletal framework of the super laser dish stretches toward infinity. This is where Palpatine comes to oversee the construction of his ultimate instrument of terror. Inside the throne room, Galen finds the captured rebel leaders kneeling in restraints while Vader stands guard. Emperor Palpatine himself occupies the central throne, his yellow eyes burning with malevolent anticipation. The most powerful Sith Lord in galactic history has been waiting for this confrontation. The reunion between former master and apprentice erupts into violence almost immediately. But this time, Galen fights as Vader's enemy rather than his student. The difference is remarkable. Where once he attacked with mindless aggression, now he fights with purpose and clarity. The light side of the Force flows through him, enhancing his abilities in ways the dark side never did. Their lightsaber duel rages across the throne room, while the Death Star's construction continues around them. Vader's mechanical breathing mixes with the clash of energy blades and the hum of the Force itself. Both combatants know this fight will end with one of them dead. Galen's power has grown beyond what even Vader expected. He uses the Force to collapse part of the dome's ceiling onto his former master, then follows up by striking Vader's mask hard enough to crack the faceplate. For a moment, the scarred features of Anakin Skywalker are visible beneath the mechanical shell. Vader falls to his knees, defeated by the weapon he created. The irony is perfect and bitter. The boy he stole from Kashyyyk has become strong enough to destroy him. But Emperor Palpatine sees opportunity in Vader's failure. The Emperor's voice cuts through the moment like a blade. He praises Galen's power while offering him everything he once thought he wanted: a place at the Emperor's side, the chance to rule the galaxy. All he has to do is kill Vader and take his place as Palpatine's apprentice. The temptation is real and powerful. Galen's hatred for Vader runs deeper than the Marianas Trench. The man destroyed his family, stole his childhood, and turned him into a weapon of mass destruction. Killing him would be justice, maybe even mercy. But Galen has learned the difference between justice and revenge. His experiences with Juno, Kota, and the rebels have shown him that some things matter more than personal satisfaction. The light side of the Force whispers warnings about the path Palpatine offers. Rahm Kota breaks the spell by stealing Palpatine's own lightsaber and attacking the Emperor directly. The blind Jedi's desperate assault fails instantly. Palpatine blasts him across the room with Force lightning while laughing at the futile gesture. But Kota's sacrifice snaps Galen out of his internal struggle. Seeing his mentor suffer because of his hesitation galvanizes Galen into action. He makes his choice in that instant. Rather than strike down Vader, he launches himself at Emperor Palpatine. The attack surprises the Sith Lord, who expected his psychological manipulation to work. The duel between Galen Marek and Darth Sidious becomes the stuff of legend. Two of the most powerful Force users in galactic history clash while the Death Star trembles around them. Palpatine wields centuries of dark side knowledge and techniques that predate the Republic itself. But Galen fights with something the Emperor can't understand: hope. Their duel tears apart the throne room while both combatants draw on reserves of power that seem limitless. Palpatine summons royal guards to assist him, but Galen destroys them with contemptuous ease. The Death Star's internal structure groans under the assault as two gods of war try to destroy each other. Eventually, Galen gains the upper hand through a combination of skill, power, and determination. He blasts Palpatine into the chamber wall with enough force to crack the reinforced metal. The Emperor staggers back as Galen stands poised between vengeance and restraint. But this is the moment that defines Galen's entire journey. Standing over a defeated enemy with a lightsaber in his hand, he faces the same choice that destroyed Anakin Skywalker decades earlier. Kill in anger and fall to the dark side, or find another way. Rahm Kota shouts for him to finish Palpatine, but Galen sees the trap. Executing a helpless prisoner would satisfy his need for revenge while damning his soul. He deactivates his lightsaber and steps back, choosing mercy over justice. The decision to spare Palpatine is simultaneously Galen's greatest victory and his death sentence. He turns to help the rebel leaders escape, ordering them to flee to Juno's ship while he covers their retreat. This act of selflessness completes his transformation from Sith assassin to Jedi hero. Palpatine's rage at being spared erupts in the form of unlimited Force lightning. The attack isn't aimed at Galen, but at the fleeing rebels. Kota, Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, and Garm Bel Iblis are about to be vaporized by the Emperor's fury. Galen doesn't hesitate. He throws himself into the path of the lightning to protect people who have every reason to hate him. The energy that hits him is beyond anything Vader ever inflicted during training. It feels like standing in the heart of a star, while every nerve in his body screams in agony. But instead of simply enduring the torture, Galen does something that surprises even Palpatine. He absorbs the lightning into his own body, becoming a living conduit for the Emperor's power. For a few precious seconds, he contains forces that could level mountains. The strain is too much for any mortal form to withstand. Galen releases all the absorbed energy in a single massive explosion that devastates the throne room and sends shockwaves throughout the Death Star. The blast knocks Vader unconscious and slams Palpatine into the ceiling with enough force to crack bone. When the light fades, Galen Marek lies dying on the floor of the ruined chamber. His body has been pushed beyond all limits, but his spirit has found the peace that eluded him throughout his tortured life. He senses Juno's presence through the Force and takes comfort in knowing she's safe. His final thought is of love rather than hate, hope rather than despair. The boy who was stolen from Kashyyyk dies as a man who chose to save others rather than himself. In that moment, Galen Marek becomes one with the Force, his physical form disappearing as his essence joins the cosmic energy that binds all things together. The explosion creates enough chaos for the surviving rebels to escape. Kota gathers the unconscious senators while Juno pilots the rogue Shadow away from the Death Star. They flee into hyperspace as Imperial reinforcements arrive too late to stop them. From there, the survivors of the Rebel Alliance hold a memorial service for the man who saved them all. They adopt the Marek family crest as their official symbol, transforming a personal heritage into a galactic beacon of hope. The stylized starbird will inspire freedom fighters for generations to come. Emperor Palpatine survives the encounter, but loses something more valuable than life. 2 potential apprentices in one day. His plans for replacing Vader have been shattered, and the Rebel Alliance now exists as more than just a distraction. Galen's sacrifice has given it legitimacy and martyrdom, that will fuel decades of resistance. Darth Vader faces his master's displeasure while nursing injuries both physical and psychological. He realizes that Palpatine tried to replace him with Galen, planting seeds of resentment that will eventually bloom into rebellion. The wedge between master and apprentice will prove crucial in the Empire's eventual downfall. The galaxy remembers Galen Marek as the first martyr of the Rebel Alliance. His story becomes legend, proving that redemption is possible even for those raised in darkness. The weapon Vader created to serve the Sith became the catalyst that ensured their destruction. In his final moments, Rahm Kota glimpsed something in Galen's mind that brought him peace. A bright spot of pure love, untainted by the years of training and manipulation. Galen died as he had learned to live, connected to the light side of the Force and the woman who showed him what it meant to be human. The alliance to restore the Republic was built on the foundation Galen provided. His sacrifice emboldened leaders like Leia Organa and Luke Skywalker to continue the fight he started. The Death Star he helped build would eventually be destroyed by the very movement he founded. Starkiller began as Vader's weapon and ended as the galaxy's hope. His journey from darkness to light proves that choices define us more than circumstances. Even someone created to serve evil can choose to become something greater. Death is supposed to be the end of the story, but Darth Vader refuses to let his greatest weapon stay buried. What happens when you try to recreate a person who was defined by the choices that shaped his soul? Vader recovers Galen Marek's body from the Death Star wreckage and transports it to the one place in the galaxy where death might be reversible. Kamino, the ocean world where the Republic's clone army was born, still houses the most advanced genetic laboratories in known space. The Kaminoans, who created millions of identical soldiers, can certainly recreate one dead Sith apprentice. In Tipoca City, Vader establishes a secret cloning project that pushes the boundaries of what science can achieve. Using Galen's remains as a genetic template, Kaminoan technicians begin growing new versions of Starkiller in accelerated maturation chambers. The process that normally takes years is compressed into weeks through techniques that strain both technology and biology. The first challenge becomes clear immediately. Cloning Force-sensitive beings is nearly impossible, and cloning someone as powerful as Galen borders on the supernatural. The connection between consciousness and the Force creates complications that even Kaminoan expertise struggles to overcome. Most attempts fail before they begin. To speed up the training process, Vader employs memory flash technology. Each clone receives an artificial download of Galen's combat experiences, lightsaber techniques, and Force abilities. The procedure works like cramming a lifetime of education into minutes, but it comes with unexpected side effects. Along with the combat skills come fragments of Galen's personal memories. The clones wake up with hazy recollections of a childhood on Kashyyyk they never experienced. They remember a father they never met and feel love for a woman they've never seen. These borrowed emotions create identity crises that drive most clones insane within days. The early attempts are nightmarish failures. Some clones emerge physically deformed, their accelerated growth creating bodies that can't sustain life. Others develop normally but lose their minds when conflicting memories tear their psyches apart. They scream about families that aren't theirs and attack anyone who tries to help them. Vader destroys failure after failure with cold efficiency. The laboratories become graveyards filled with broken dreams and shattered minds. Each discarded clone represents another step closer to perfection, but the cost in suffering grows heavier with each attempt. After countless failures, the technicians finally produce a stable specimen. Subject 1138 develops without physical defects and demonstrates force abilities that rival the original Starkiller's power. For the first time since beginning the project, Vader allows himself to feel something approaching hope. The clone's early training proceeds smoothly. He masters lightsaber forms with Galen's muscle memory and channels the Force with natural ease. But as days pass, the memory imprints begin asserting themselves in ways Vader never anticipated. The clone starts experiencing visions of moments he never lived. Most disturbing is his reaction to anything involving Juno Eclipse. Even hearing her name triggers emotional responses that have nothing to do with Sith training. The clone feels a pull toward someone he's never met, driven by love that belongs to a dead man. Vader recognizes the weakness immediately. During a training exercise designed to test detachment, Vader presents the clone with a holographic simulation of Juno and orders him to strike her down. The clone hesitates, unable to reconcile his borrowed feelings with his programmed obedience. That moment of doubt seals his fate in Vader's eyes. Rather than submit to execution like his predecessors, Subject 1138 fights back. The survival instinct that served Galen so well manifests in his genetic duplicate. The clone lashes out with the Force, damaging equipment and creating enough chaos to escape into Kamino's stormy night. His flight from the cloning facility marks the first time one of Starkiller's duplicates has shown true independence. Driven by memory fragments and overwhelming emotion, the clone commandeers a ship and flees the ocean world. He becomes something unprecedented in galactic history, a rogue clone carrying another man's face and feelings. The identity crisis that torments him during his journey is unlike anything experienced by the original Galen. The clone knows he's an artificial being created from borrowed genetic material, yet he feels genuine emotions for people he's never met. The philosophical implications are staggering and deeply personal. His search for purpose leads him to track down General Rahm Kota, the one person who might understand his struggle. The blind Jedi has been captured by Imperial forces and forced to fight as a gladiator on Cato Nemoidia for the entertainment of corrupt nobles. The rescue mission becomes a masterclass in controlled destruction. The clone tears through arena beasts and Imperial troops with Galen's remembered skills while carving his own path toward heroism. His assault levels entire sections of Tarkosay, leaving Boba Fett to arrive later and find only ruins. Kota's initial reaction to seeing the clone alive borders on religious wonder. The general assumes Galen has somehow returned from death to continue his mission, but the clone insists he's merely a copy. The distinction matters to him even if it doesn't to others. Their reunion with the rebel fleet brings the clone face to face with his greatest test. Juno Eclipse commands the frigate Salvation, serving the Alliance with distinction while carrying grief for a love she believes is lost forever. The clone wants nothing more than to reveal himself, but Vader springs his trap first. Boba Fett infiltrates the rebel fleet during a carefully orchestrated attack and captures Juno while the clone watches helplessly. The bounty hunter delivers her to Vader on Kamino, completing a trap designed to exploit the clone's greatest vulnerability. Love becomes a weapon pointed directly at his heart. The Rebel Alliance's assault on Kamino represents their boldest military operation yet. Princess Leia and Admiral Akbar commit precious resources to what could be a suicide mission, but the strategic value of destroying the cloning facilities outweighs the risks. They might even capture or kill Vader in the process. The clone's desperation drives him to attempt something that should be impossible. He crashes the Salvation directly into Kamino's planetary shield generator, using a capital ship as a guided missile to break the defensive barrier. The sacrifice of their flagship demonstrates just how far the rebels are willing to go. Fighting through Temira City becomes a journey through a house of horrors. The clone passes vats filled with failed versions of himself, each one a reminder of what he could have become. Some are physically deformed, while others float in suspension fluid, their minds already broken by conflicting memories. The final confrontation with Vader takes place on a platform battered by Kamino's eternal storms. Rain and lightning provide a fitting backdrop for the reunion between creator and created, master and weapon. Vader holds Juno's life in his hands while daring the clone to save her. When Vader hurls Juno from the platform's edge, the clone's rage reaches levels that surpass even the original Galen's fury. Grief and love combine with artificial memories to create something new, a hybrid emotion that belongs entirely to the clone. His assault on Vader carries the weight of 2 lifetimes of betrayal. The duel that follows showcases how much the clone has grown beyond his programming. He uses techniques Vader taught Galen while adding innovations of his own. The master who created both versions of Starkiller finds himself overwhelmed by his own success. Vader's defeat comes through a combination of skill, brutal determination, and moral clarity. The clone feigns weakness to create an opening, then uses the Force to collapse machinery onto his fallen master. For the first time in his existence, Darth Vader lies helpless at the mercy of someone he tried to control. Rahm Kota's intervention prevents the clone from committing murder. The Jedi Master argues for capturing Vader alive, both for strategic reasons and moral ones. The clone's choice to spare his enemy mirrors Galen's final decision on the Death Star, proving that compassion can be inherited along with genetics. Juno's survival provides the emotional climax the clone has been seeking since his awakening. Finding her alive but injured, he uses the Force to stabilize her condition while coming to terms with his own nature. Whether he's truly Galen or merely a copy becomes irrelevant in the face of genuine connection. The capture of Darth Vader sends shockwaves through both the Rebellion and the Empire. No one has ever taken a Sith Lord prisoner before, and the strategic implications are staggering. The Alliance gains its greatest victory, while the Empire loses one of its most important assets. Vader's final words to the clone carry the weight of prophecy and threat. He claims that Juno's continued existence will always give him power over Starkiller, but the clone rejects this logic. Love makes him stronger rather than weaker, just as it did for Galen in his final moments. The story ends with uncertainty and hope in equal measure. Boba Fett stalks the rebel fleet while they transport their extraordinary prisoner to safety. The clone has proven his independence and humanity, but questions about his true nature remain unanswered. Whether he's Galen Marek reborn or merely a convincing copy, the clone has chosen his own path. His actions on Kamino deliver the Alliance its first major victory while removing Vader from the galactic chessboard. Galen Marek began as Vader's tool and ended as the galaxy's catalyst for freedom. In life and death, through original and copy, Starkiller shaped galactic history by proving that redemption is always possible.